So, what happens when one of the greatest philosophical minds of the 20th century dies? Well, according to one incredible story, he sits down for a game of chess with death itself. Today, we're going to break down that final match. Our source for this is part novel, part philosophy, and it kicks off with this quote that just immediately sets the stakes. It's telling us right up front, hey, this isn't just some clever metaphor. No, the very question of whether it's a metaphor, well, that's one of the first moves in the game. So Wittgenstein arrives, and he's not in heaven or hell. He's in this incredibly stark, minimalist room. The source calls it a proposition stripped of all its accidents. And at a table sits a chessboard and an opponent who definitely does not look like the Grim Reaper you see in the movies. And this sets up a fascinating matchup, doesn't it? In one corner, you've got Wittgenstein, the guy who spent his entire life taking rules apart just to see how they worked. And in the other, you have death, presented here not as some scary mythical force, but more like a quiet, seen-it-all civil servant, just there to administer the final rule. So what's Wittgenstein's first move? He just says, I don't play, flat out refuses to participate. And if you know anything about him, that is such a Wittgenstein thing to do. He's questioning the whole setup before a single piece has even moved. But death isn't having any of it. The response is so simple and final. Everyone says that. Sit. And just like that, the game is not optional. Rule number 1 of this new reality: you have to play. Okay, so he's been forced to the table, but he's not just going to roll over. He immediately starts probing, testing the boundaries. He asks, and we are to follow the conventions. He's trying to figure out what the real game is here. Are we just going through the motions, or is something else going on? And this is where Death's reply just completely flips the board. That is rather the question, isn't it? Wow. Right there, the point is made crystal clear. This isn't just a chess match that uses rules. It's a match about the nature of rules themselves. The real game has officially begun. All right, Act 2, the middle game. Death opens with pawn to e4. You know, the most standard opening move imaginable. But with that one simple, conventional move, we dive headfirst into the philosophical heart of this story. The board itself is about to become a playground for Wittgenstein's biggest ideas. So to really get what's happening, you have to understand one of his key concepts: language games. The idea is that words don't have some fixed dictionary meaning. Their meaning comes from how we use them in a particular situation, in a specific game. A bishop in chess is only a bishop because of how it moves, right? The word gets its meaning from its role in the game. For Wittgenstein, language works the exact same way. And what's amazing is how this reflects his own journey. He started out with this super rigid idea that language was a perfect, logical picture of reality, but his later work, totally different. He started seeing language as this messy toolbox, where meaning is all about practice and use. The story goes, this huge shift was sparked when a friend on a train made a common Italian gesture of contempt and asked, what is the logical form of that? And it hit him. You can't find the meaning in abstract logic. The meaning is in the use, in the context, in the game being played. So, back at the board, Wittgenstein keeps pushing. He asks another one of these massive questions. What does winning mean here? He's not asking about checkmate. He's asking, in this specific game against this particular opponent, what would a victory even look like? And again, Death just flips it right back on him. What does winning mean in any game? It's a brilliant move because he's basically using Wittgenstein's own philosophy against him. He's saying, you're the one who said meaning comes from context, so you tell me. The answer isn't fixed. It all depends on the game you think you're playing. Okay, now things start to get really complex. We're moving into the middle game, and every single move on this board starts to carry the heavy weight of a lifetime of choices. The story brings up the chess term blunder, and it has such a fascinating take on it. A blunder isn't just a bad move. It's described as something deeper, a moment where the connection between you and the game's internal logic just snaps. You're suddenly on the outside looking in. This leads Wittgenstein to reflect on his own life, even his own death. He wonders if his famous last words, "Tell them I've had a wonderful life," were they just a description of fact? Or was that a calculated final move in a completely different language game, one designed to comfort his friends? Then there's the idea of sacrifice. In chess, you sacrifice a piece to gain a better position. But an unsound sacrifice? Well, that's just a blunder with a heroic story attached.
So the story asks, Wittgenstein gave up a colossal family fortune to pursue philosophy. Was that a sound sacrifice for the sake of clarity, or was it just a blunder that he wrapped in a really good story?
And now, we've reached the end game. The board is clearing out, and this is where everything gets intense. There's nowhere left to hide. Every single move is critical, and the true nature of the struggle is about to be revealed.
I love this part. The source gives each piece its own little philosophical personality. The rook is honest. The knight is an exception to the rules. But the one that really hits you is the pawn. It's described as time itself made material. Think about that. Every move a pawn makes, it can't go back. It's an irreversible commitment, just like the small choices we make that slowly shape our lives.
All this time, Death has been playing the long game. For 7 moves, he's been patiently setting a trap. And now, snap, the trap is sprung. Wittgenstein finds himself in a position called Zugzwang.
Zugzwang is this German term for when it's your turn, but any move you can possibly make just makes your situation worse. You'd love to just pass, but you can't. The rules say you have to move. And wow, what a powerful metaphor for those impossible moments in life, right? Where all of your options are bad, but you're still forced to choose.
Yet even here, completely outplayed, Wittgenstein refuses to resign. He says, I don't resign, not in chess, not in philosophy. This isn't just about being stubborn. It's about a deep philosophical fidelity to the practice of just going on, of playing the game as long as it's still a game. The conversation turns to all the other stories about playing chess with death, like that famous movie The Seventh Seal. And Death makes this fascinating observation. He says, yeah, those stories, they get a lot of things right, but they all get one crucial thing wrong. The ending. And this is the final, brilliant, mind-bending point of the whole thing. A question that reframes the entire encounter. What if the goal isn't to win or to lose? What if the real mistake, the real blunder, is assuming there has to be a final move at all? What if the entire point is just to keep playing the game?